Hi, I'm Fuzzy and I'm developing a chill rollerball game in Unreal Engine 5. We have a lot to talk about in this video. Some of you may know that I'm based in Germany, so let's talk about why my game will most likely be released for free when it's done. I don't want to promise this 100% yet, as things might change in the future, but let's have a quick look at the numbers and the laws. Let's start simple with the law. If I sell something for profit, I, of course, need to register a business. Sounds simple enough, right? Oh no! What follows is a mountain of bureaucracy. I would have to check with my insurance and probably start paying a few €100 monthly. I would have to file commercial tax documents every year or pay an accountant to do it for me. I would likely have to deal with Chamber of Commerce and Industry membership fees, and I would be forced to put a public imprint online with my full name and home address. Or pay a monthly mail service to protect my privacy. Hooray! Alright, so far so bad, but let's look at the Steam stats on top of that. In 2025, there were around 19,000 games released on Steam, and the vast majority did not even reach 100 reviews. So if I release a niche ball game for, say, $10, and it makes an optimistic 200 sales in a year, that's $2,000. Hooray! Right? No. Well, Steam takes their 30% cut, bringing us down to around $1,400. German taxes take roughly half, leaving me with around $700. Deduct insurance, the accountant, the mail address and other fees, and I'm left with pretty much nothing after just 1 month of expenses. I don't even want to start thinking about stop killing games as a small indie dev and the risk that it would carry of having lifetime obligations to offer this game or possibly pay back all earnings when I'm an old retiree. Because I can't take care of business anymore just for a small random-ass game. So, as it seems, all I would gain is a bunch of extra paperwork and legal risks. So I'm strictly keeping this as a hobby and keeping the game free unless there is a clear indication in the future that it would become a massive success. I don't see it, but who knows? And since I'm keeping this as a stress-free hobby, I can focus entirely on this fun stuff. So let's take a look at the cool new content added to the game. The biggest addition is the new lava theme, featuring a reflective metallic floor, giant rotating metal gears, and big stone structures. I'm really proud of this lava material achieved with UV shifting. Let me show you how it works. Alright, so this is the material. Let's go through it step by step. So, first, I'm not using any model UVs, I'm using the axis projection node. So, wherever I place a model, the UVs get projected top down onto the model. So, I don't need to do any unwrapping or make sure whatever works, it just does. So, that's good. Alright, next, let's continue over here. I'm using a flow map texture. That's a green and red channel texture for displacement. I'm masking the red and green channels, subtract 0.5, so we got a range instead from 0 to 1, we get it from minus 0.5 to plus 0.5. Then I multiply that with a distortion strength and put this into the panner's coordinate. The two panners are basically just there to scroll the UVs. We have two time steps. Both have time multiplied by a flow speed. One of them has 0.5 added on top, both are fractions, so we cut off the rest. And that basically gives us a half-loop time shift. Then over here I have another noise texture with a cell size multiplier to the UVs, just to scramble the UVs a little more. Finally, we add all the distortion and panners together to the UVs for our color maps, which is basically just a liquid lava texture. Then I'm lerping between those two texture nodes with some math from the time node, so we get even more variation. And for the emission, I basically just add an emissive strength multiplied for the textures, and on top I add a distance to nearest surface, which basically calculates where is my material compared to the next wall. That gives us the nice glow on the edges. I divide the distance to nearest surface node with a scalar value so I can set the thickness of the border. I saturate it, invert it, and multiply it by the color we like the border to have. And whoop-de-oop, plug that into the emissive color and we get our nice lava material. And feel free to steal the setup for your own project. Since rubber balls usually don't deal very well with bubbling hot lava, I had to add a popping function. Initially, the only loss condition was falling off the stage, but obviously that wouldn't do here. On the overlap trigger, I check for a pop tag, then play a little sequence, add a few effects, and respawn the player. Take note, I do not restart the level, I just respawn the player. This is crucial for the next system, vehicles. This is really cool. I'm using a blueprint interface with a few functions defined for inputs, like the axis and the jump button. When the player and the vehicle overlap, I set a reference to the vehicle on the player blueprint and trigger a boolean that we are currently in a vehicle. Now for the party trick. If this boolean is set and the interface reference is valid, I just route the input from the player directly to the interface object. Boom! All inputs are controlled by the vehicle blueprint. I can add any behavior I want without having to think about object possession or camera changes. For this top spinner vehicle, I basically inverted the player controls and gave it a hefty, weighty feeling. Here is why the respawn versus level reload matters. On a full reload, everything resets. I wanted the player to keep collected gems and keep certain level triggers completed. The problem was that if you used the vehicle and died, the vehicle would stay stranded across the lava pool. To solve this, I used a custom GameState class, which is always loaded in the background. I added an event dispatcher specifically for player respawning. When the player ball gets destroyed, the respawn event gets called, and any object I want can subscribe to this event. Just like you can subscribe to my channel! So on the vehicle's begin play, it subscribes to this event. Whenever it fires, the vehicle resets to its starting position and removes any remaining velocity. But wait, there is more! I have added an ability system that will allow unlocks using those yellow gems we talked about last time. I am using an ability enum that can be used for Bitmask flags, and the player ball utilizes this in a Bitmask integer variable. So I can easily pick and choose what skills have been learned. To make things super easy, I built a hasAbility function. It takes the enum ability value as an input and checks if it is unlocked in the integer Bitmask. It was a bit tricky since the enum wasn't directly comparable to the Bitmask and bit shifting wasn't an available node. I ended up using the enum value as the exponent of a power of base 2, which sets the same bit in the integer value to compare against the Bitmask. A bit complicated, but it works. The first use case was the dash ability. My first attempt at the logic was a total spaghetti mess. So I reworked the event graph and it looks so much cleaner now. When attempting to dash, I easily check if the ability is unlocked and only proceed if true. A friend of mine suggested adding an air dash. With this clean rework in place, it was incredibly easy to add. Now you can dash straight from a jump. Starting a dash in the air locks you in place, lets you choose a direction indicated by a nice arrow, and launches you forward when you release the button. Occasionally this ability may or may not break the levels, so I might choose to make it only available later in the game. And I will keep it at that for this devlog. I hope it was interesting and informative for you. I wish you all a great week and hope to see you again next time. Bye!